Welcome. If you'd like to put your name and institution in the chat as we get started, we will be using the chat today. Just a reminder, I'll start on housekeeping. This is a Zoom meeting, so all of you have the ability to mute or unmute yourself as you go. You can also turn on or off your camera. Please be mindful that if you step away or take another call or something, so be mindful if you are unmuted to just be aware. In addition to that, we will be using the chat. If you have questions, you're welcome to raise your hand and unmute, or you can post a question in the chat and we will be pausing for questions as we go today. Excited to have you with us. You can also use those lovely reactions, which everybody but Brittany can use because she's sharing her screen, so she can't use those. So if you want to use those as well, make this a fun and engaging session. We are here today to talk to you about recruitment and engagement strategies, tips, and tricks. And good morning. My name is Amy Julian. I am the director for the Illinois Center for Specialized Professional Support at Illinois State University. With me today are two of my colleagues, Brittany Boston and Dalton Byers, and I will have them both introduce themselves.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Brittany Boston. I am the Associate Director with ICSPS. You're probably familiar with my voice at this point because I've been helping out with the IBT professional development meetings for quite some time now. And then I will let Dalton introduce himself.
Hello, everyone. Dalton Byers, Educational Outreach and Research Specialist with ICSPS. And I've also been on many of these meetings, so happy to provide support. If you need anything, feel free to send me a chat or mention me in the general chat.
All right, so we're going to jump in for the morning. Throughout the presentation, please feel free. If you have questions, comments, thoughts, you can put them in the chat. If you have a working microphone, you can come off mute. Amy, myself, and Dalton will pepper in some things here and there where we want this to very much be a conversation. You all are the ones doing the work in the field. So if you have input or things to add, please feel free to do so. Don't feel like you're interrupting us. We want this very much to be a conversation and be beneficial to you all. So we are going to go ahead and jump in if my PowerPoint will cooperate with me here. And it's not. So 1 second.
And sometimes when you're presenting, you have the opportunity to troubleshoot items and see if they're working. And Britt, if not, let me know and I can pull it open and
No, we should be okay. I also, when things update, so my Mac also updated, and it's like when all of the things update, it just creates a little bit of chaos on my end. But I think we've got it. You all should be seeing that. And then there we go. Okay, so what can we expect over the next, 45 minutes to an hour? We're going to talk a little bit about evidence-based practices. We want to share some strategies and tips focused on increasing recruitment and engagement. And we hope that you all get some valuable information from this, maybe type down a note or two on some of the information, share some things that you are doing with your institution that you found to be beneficial. Again, we very much want this to be a collaborative conversation here. Okay, so let's go over some tips for recruiting. One of the key things, and I think when we're talking about, individuals in the post-secondary community, you all are already very excited about the work that you do. You have a passion for the work that you do. You have a passion for students meeting their potential and finding success. So this get excited and challenge the status quo, I don't think is necessarily an issue for you all, but I also know that burnout is real. We get fatigued at our job. We get fatigued with students who maybe aren't leaning into their full potential. And so being able to kind of reset and just remember why we're here, why we're doing the work that we're doing, Because if we are no longer excited about it, if we no longer have a passion and love for it, that's going to show through when we're trying to encourage students to, or potential students to enroll in these programs and to participate in these programs. You can't fix a problem with the same thinking that you got into trouble with. I think being innovative, thinking outside the box, again, it's very easy, and I'm speaking for myself as well. It is very easy to get into those habitual routines and that, well, this is how we've always done it. And it can be scary to kind of step outside of that and try new things, because what if we try this new thing and it doesn't work? And then that's what people are going to focus on. But really taking those opportunities to try new technology, try social media, try a different form of recruitment or communication or engagement with students to see how it works. Because that bottom one there, nothing changes if nothing changes. And so we want to try, every generation is different. Every generation has their own challenges. They have their own right now social media is big and attention spans are decreasing, and we always have to adapt and adjust to meet our students and potential students where they are. And that does at times mean that we also have to step outside of our comfort zone and try some new things and learn some new things. Okay, so what are some of the evidence-based practices? What do those say? One of the key things, which again, I may be speaking to individuals who already know all of this because you're in the field, you're doing that work, but dispelling stereotypes, whether those are that conscious or unconscious bias that we can hold as instructors, that parents or guardians of students or potential students may have, that the students themselves may have about what opportunities are available for them, what their skill set is, what they're capable of. We want to make sure that we are doing the best that we can to combat those stereotypes by raising awareness of the programs that you all are offering, the opportunities that are available to students early in that recruitment process. And one of the ways that we can help do that is through the imagery that we present when we're marketing or recruiting students. So making sure that we are using pictures of students actively participating in the programs. Stock photos can come in very handy. They have a place, they have a benefit, but if you can actually use images of your students in your programs, doing the work, participating in class, whatever it may be, that is going to be a key piece in your marketing strategy, and one of those elements that's going to help dispel those stereotypes because they can physically see themselves in that environment doing that work. Creating relationships with employers is huge. Making sure that your local employers know what you can bring to the table, what your program can bring to the table. You all do amazing work, and there is nothing wrong with being your own cheerleader, because if you are not your own cheerleader, who's going to be? So selling your program and your students to those local employers and building those positive relationships with them, because they can also help support your program and your students as well. And Amy and Dalton, as I move through these, if there's anything you want to add, please feel free to interrupt me. And then again, talking about when we're using images to represent our student population, make sure that it's fully representing your student population. We want to be intentional about representing all of our students, whether that's on our website, whether that's in printed materials that we hand out, whether you are using social media and promoting things on social media, making sure that the diverse student body that you all have is represented within that marketing. Some more evidence-based practices here. Providing services and recruitment campaigns to draw students to programs, but making sure not to single them out. So I talked a lot about, showing that diverse population of students, but making sure, again, that we're being inclusive to all, that we're not, a lot of times, for example, in career and tech ed, we have what we refer to as special populations, and non-traditional students fall into that. And so it's looking at, men in healthcare. And that is a non-traditional field for them, but making sure that when we are marketing to those individuals, that we're not necessarily being like, oh, come be a nurse, and just having images of all men on the marketing. Again, making it inclusive without necessarily making anyone feel like they're being called out in a negative way, if that makes sense. Using common language, I'm sure you are all very aware that we can tend to speak in alphabet soup sometimes. The acronyms, the terminology that we use, whether it's for reporting purposes to ICCB or internal conversations that we are having within our institution, that language can be very bureaucratic, very professional at times. And when we are communicating with students, parents, guardians, they may not understand what that means. Like I threw out non-trad and special pops to you all, and a student may not know what that means, and maybe may not want to fall within that category, may put a negative connotation to that. So making sure that we're using common language that can be understood by the audience in which we're trying to reach. And when recruiting, using multiple forms of media to market, like I said, and we'll talk a little bit about it here later too, social media is huge right now. Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, Instagram, all of the new ones that have come out that I am not up on because I have actively been trying to avoid social media personally, but professionally, social media can be a great platform to reach potential students. That's where they are. They're on social media. They're making TikToks, using that as a way to get your program, get your institution to flash across their screen can be of benefit. Also, if you've not done the hard copy flyers in a while, give that a try again. See if maybe that works, and using those to hand out to some of your partners and institutions within your local community that have the population of individuals that you're wanting to see come into your programs, and having them hand those out and having them available to grab and go. So multiple forms of media to market doesn't necessarily mean it has to be new and innovative. If you haven't, if it's been a while since you've done an old trusty standby, feel free to try that again. Maybe roll it back into the mix of the things you're doing and see if it makes a difference.
Can I interject here? One of the things that I found fascinating is that with our, and I'm going to call them kids today with my air quotes going, bookmarks are a big thing that they do use, they do pick up, they do take. And that is something when the millennials were going through our colleges and our programs, we were like, oh, they don't really pick those up. However, now, again, there's a whole resurrection of the bookstore, and you can look into all that lovely stuff on social media. But there's also just that idea of having something tangible. So making sure the right information's on it, but also making sure all the information's on it. So websites, emails, all of those things. But if you haven't tried bookmarks in a while, that's a great way to get your information out, and then go to where the students are. And I've seen a lot of marketing. Many of you do this very well. Putting things on the inside stalls of the bathrooms. have an undivided person's attention for that time. And so I know at ISU, Dalton, I don't know about the men's bathroom, but I'm going to say for the women's bathroom at ISU, there is a lot of information on campus on the inside door of the women's bathrooms. I don't visit the men's bathrooms. But yeah, just think about that space as well. What are you wanting to market? What are you wanting to have their attention for that brief time? Sorry, Britt, go ahead.
No, you're good. Yeah, absolutely. And like I was saying before, um, each generation is different. And sometimes I think for a while there we went away from, paper books and we were really into the Kindles and the more electronic books. But paper books are coming back. So yeah, bookmarks are a fantastic thing. And I think pulling in to rotation some things that maybe you put on the back burner because it wasn't working. And if it's been, a year or two since you've tried it, pull it back in and see what comes of it. That battling assumptions is one that I've discussed before, just being aware of our marketing, making sure that we're not assuming all nurses are women or all welders are men, and really being representative of the full population of students that we're trying to market to here. Current students and graduates from your programs are one of your hidden gems of a marketing tool. Having them share their success stories, their testimonials, their experience in the program, the support services that they've used and how it benefited them. Hearing firsthand from individuals who have gone through your program or are currently going through your program is a great way to promote your program, because it's wonderful to see a flyer and to get those quick facts. It's wonderful to hear from someone who is maybe coming in to a classroom or wherever the case may be and talking about the program from an instructor or an administrator, but actually hearing from someone who has gone through it and who has experienced it and maybe has also experienced some of the same life elements that these potential students have experienced is a great way to promote your program to potential students. So tap into that resource that you already have right there at your fingertips, because it really does make a difference. And I just went fully into success stories, so we can skip over this slide. But again, that is really that word of mouth marketing, I think, can sometimes be overlooked. Again, it's one of those ones that maybe can fall on the back burner for a little bit because we want to try some new innovative ways of marketing, which is fantastic. But if we've put that on the back burner, let's move it up to the front again and try using those success stories as a way to market our programs as well. And so when we're looking at how to use those success stories, this can go back into that using multiple forms of media. So really rethinking how we're doing that. Are we sharing a success story on a hard copy printed flyer? Wonderful. That's a great way to do it. Are we using social media? Are we having a student do a quick TikTok that's just an overview of kind of their experience of what they went through the program? And if it's a student who is familiar with TikTok and is on there, have them promote it, have them, use their creativity to come up with a way to share their experience of the program through the social media platform. Having a space on your website that shares out success stories from students, or letting the students be creative in how they want to share their story and their information. And maybe might even find some new avenues in which you could share that and new ways in which you can market just by asking current and graduated students what they think. And again, we've talked a little bit about this as well, leveraging new technology. technology is one that is ever changing, whether we're talking about social media, whether we're talking about messaging platforms, various things. We've always have something new coming out that people are excited about and learning and utilizing. So find what works for your team and your program. You don't have to be on all of the things and use all of the elements. Find what your team is comfortable with, find what your team knows, and use that. And then maybe every once in a while, sprinkle in something new. Learn a new social media platform, learn a new communication platform, and try that as well. Start small, but start somewhere. Not making it an overwhelming process, but being able to kind of take it bite-sized pieces to be able to utilize that new technology. And then again, engaging with potential and current students. Technology is in everything that we do. It's not going away anytime soon. So making sure that we're really leaning into that to the benefit of our students, to the benefit of our programs. And again, if there are any questions or comments along the way, please feel free to type it in the chat or stop me and come off mute and we can discuss further. Follow up with students is huge. If you have potential students that reach out, even just going to your institution's website and doing a Google search or sending an email, that is their way of asking for connection. And if that connection is not met with some type of communication, the likelihood is we've already lost that student. So making sure that we're following up with potential students who are expressing interest, current students who are enrolled in our programs but maybe have to step out for some things that are going on. Whether that's emailing students, calling or texting students, using social media as a way to follow up with them. Again, those other communication platforms as well, but making sure that the students don't feel as though they're being ghosted by us, right? That they know, okay, I've gotten this email, I'm going to get a text message. Like they want me in their program because they're reaching out, they're being persistent, they want me to come to campus, they see me, and so maybe this is the place that I need to be.
Thing to add to that kind of follow up.
Yeah.
Maybe you may all have this on lock already, but like keep notes about some of these students, especially if you're having any recurring conversations with them about who they are outside of just their interest in being a part of your program. If they've mentioned offhanded something about a pet or a family member or like a thing that they're interested in, next time you chat with them, also bring something up like that. Like so that they recognize that they aren't just like a number to be, added to your thing, but that they're a person that you are interested in and that you value. That goes a really far way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know, and I will speak for myself here, especially when I am in a state of just a busy time at work or my personal life, or both at the same time, right? Because the busyness tends to overlap in both areas of our lives. It can be hard for me to remember those little things that Dalton mentioned when I am in conversation with people. And I personally think it is very much a skill that we have to practice and we have to hone in on. And if it means I have to kind of jot down a little note on a post-it or a little note on my phone, or I know iPhones, I don't know about Androids, but iPhones have the option to where you can type out a text message and then schedule it to be sent later. So like when I'm thinking of something, if it's someone's birthday, for example, and I know that I'm thinking about it, I type out the message and then schedule it to be sent the 4 days later when it's their actual birthday, when I know that I'm going to forget, because life and work and just chaos has ensued. And so using those little tips and tricks, if maybe not remembering those smaller details, is like me, not your strong suit. All right. And so let's talk about your webpage. So the webpage for your institution, for your program, right? It is that sort of first virtual doorway that folks are going to be walking through here.
So Brittany, before we dive in there, there's a couple things in the chat I'd like to pause for.
Oh, perfect.
And I think this really does tie into before we get too far into website, and website is very important. So we have a question. Does anyone have advice on getting previous students to actually follow up? We started hosting on-site social networking events, but seems to only get the same attendees. So that's the first question for all of you on here, all 34 of you. And then Ashley says, is there any data that shows the best time frame so you're not bombarding or feeling like you're nagging students by reaching out too often? There's a good set of time that shows care and interest without being overwhelming. And so I'm going to kind of answer both of these, and then I want other people to please chime in because I think these are really important. So advice on getting previous students to actually follow up. You want to be sure it's being personal. You want to be sure you're not just sending blanket things out. If any of you are parents and you have gotten the remind emails from the school and you have to opt into those. So if you don't know, it's a text platform that you opt into. But many times I get the thing, I look at my phone, I'm like, oh, not me, not me, not me. So you want to be sure that how you're reaching out to your students is a mechanism that makes it, they see that it's them. So you're not just, to the other point, of bombarding them with information that they're wanting or not wanting. And sometimes they don't know that they want it till they know they need it. And then as for time, be aware of how, or make yourself aware of how much other communication is going to students during particular times of the year. So for example, there is a lot going out right around late April, early May. Graduation, all these other lovely things, end of classes, finals. So probably not the best time to get something in marketing a program for fall as you're moving into summertime. And you're also looking at how students are going to respond to that. So I would look at the cadence of programs at your institution. I would look at the cadence of when your students, your individuals are receiving emails, and then look at when those highs and lows are. And you can talk with maybe admissions or someone of that nature to get that advice. And then same thing happens with us, says Brian. A consistent group of students shows up in extra workshop sessions, but we try to build as much extra time for our enrollment team as possible to make those follow-ups, all students via text, also phone calls. And I think that's great, Brian. I think both is really important. I do know some students are a little adverse to talking on the phone, but it's a needed skill, in my opinion. I'm showing my age. But I also think it's also an ability to really show them that you're interested. There's a huge body of research that shows that if we invest in our students will feel that they belong at our institutions and they will find success at our institutions. They will retain, they will stay. We're going to get to that in just a little bit. But those are the things that you're really looking at, is being able to touch base with them. Is there any data that shows the best time frame so you're not bombarding or feel like you're nagging? Oh, I think that was a or is that Ashley? Maybe we're just saying the same thing because we did just talk about that. Students by reaching out too often, there's a good set of time that shows care and interest is being without being overwhelming. Have a meeting at 10:30. Oh, sorry, that was just Patricia letting us know she has to hop off. And sorry, reading as I was going there, guys. But I do think looking at what is that best time, and also you want to give them enough notice if there is an event, if there is an office hours, if there is, to Brian's point, and then also Cassidy's point about getting students to show up for your events. Give them enough notice that they, and I think it's kind of like 3 weeks is that sweet spot between, oh, it's next week, so there's no way I have time for this, and oh my gosh, that's a month away, I'm not even going to think about it. So 2 to 3 weeks out is when you really want to push the marketing from whatever event you are wanting them to show up for, because then it's on their radar and they can think about it. We have had events or I've been witness to events that it comes across my email and it's like 3 months away. And somebody will say, oh, you should go to that. And I put it on my calendar, and then 8 million other things pop on. And that does happen from people time to time. But if you look at, for our students who their lives, they believe, move at a very different pace than us professional individuals in the world, I would say definitely hype up that marketing 2 to 3 weeks out from the event. And then of course, continue it as you get closer. If registration is required or you need food counts, those are usually due a week in advance. So you'll want to be aware of that as well. As for time of year, look at times when they're pondering what's coming next. So they're really thinking about summer as they're going into spring break. So if there are things we want them to do in the summer, we need to be marketing those things around spring break events, operations, things like that. Same goes through fall. Right at August, they're getting bombarded with a ton of things from the institution. How can they move that into maybe September, October for programs, specific items that you want to share? Was that helpful? And I want to hear from other people as well. You can tell me, no, Amy, you're crazy. That's totally wrong.
One thing that I've kind of gleaned from trying to get students to participate in things outside of requirements is, especially if you're trying to get like alum or others who have a specific action to do a said event, like, so like they're one of the networker people, or they're gonna, be sharing something on a panel, really emphasize the value that like you have in them, but also in that they're bringing to it. Sometimes I'll be like, hey, I know that you have a lot of experience, or that you're in this industry, or that you wanting to go into this space. I think that would be really valuable for you to share your insights, really emphasizing that it's not just a like, hey, we need alum because alum are alum, but like, no, we need you because you have this skill set or this insight that we all would benefit from. It's a way of, I think, kind of showing that what they're investing in is actually like they're providing something unique, not just a warm body.
Thank you, Dalton. That was great. Any other comments? All right, Britt, we can go back to websites.
Okay. So I am going to assume that most of the people on this call do not oversee their institution's website. If I'm wrong, let me know. But I am imagining that most of your institution's websites are managed and maintained by your IT department. If you have a web page specific to your program, and you can put it in the chat, or a virtual raise of hands, how many of you have a web page that is specific to your program? And if you do have a web page that is specific to your program, are you or anyone on your team the ones that do the updates and maintaining of said web page? Okay, seeing a thumbs up. Not many though. Okay, I had a feeling that when it came to websites and web pages, that a lot of that, especially for academic institutions, those tend to go through an IT department. However, I would encourage you to, maybe if you don't have a specific web page for your program, if you haven't initiated or attempted conversation about what that would look like, or the ability to do that with your IT department, I'd encourage you to do so, because I think marketing and having a marketing and development does ours. Okay, thank you, Cassidy. But yeah, having a website for your institution as a whole is fantastic. It's wonderful. But if a potential student is on there searching, looking around, will they have the ability to even be able to be aware of your program or come across information about your program? And so when it comes to website, and we'll kind of go over this relatively quickly since most of you are not the ones kind of maintaining your websites. But keep an eye out. Is your institution's website intuitive? Is it accessible? Is it easy to navigate? I can't remember how many clicks it is, but there's, if it takes an individual a certain number of clicks to get to the information they're looking for, whether it's like 3, 4, 5 clicks, you've already lost them. We live in a day and age where, our attention span has gone to like 10-second video clips. And so if it takes someone longer than that to navigate a website to find the information that they want, they've moved on to something else. Is the website designed and inviting for potential students? Again, that easy to navigate, intuitive, accessible. When they get on your website and they are looking for certain things, are they able to, is there a search bar where they can type in what they're looking for? Do you have those most frequently used services highlighted somewhere? Is it something that they can navigate through quickly? Making sure it loads quickly. Is it mobile friendly? Again, we all walk around with these little mini computers in our hands, in our back pocket, in our book bags. Does your website work on a phone? Does it work on an iPad or tablet? Does it load properly? Does it stall out when it's on a phone or tablet? Compatible with popular web browsers. We know that Google Chrome and Mozilla Firefox are those key ones. Those are the ones frequently used. But is it compatible with other web browsers as well? And if not, is that information shared with individuals? And then Amy, do you have anything that you'd like to add when we're talking website here?
No, I think you've covered a lot of it. Be aware of, and it kind of depends on who you're dancing with, but right now there are regulations on accessibility that went into effect or were supposed to go into effect of April 30th of 2026. The federal government has extended those requirements, and so all of that got pushed back by 1 year. So the timeline is now April of 2027. There are some fantastic resources on our website around how to make your products, PDFs, websites, presentations accessible. And so if you are needing a training on that or are looking for additional stuff, let me know, let Brittany know, let Dalton know. And in addition, Do It also has a great body of research, not research, but tools for that. I say that with the caveat of who you're dancing with, because it was recently shared with me that ISB is saying they're insisting that the secondary system does. So if you have any partners in that venue or frame, they are needing to be accessible this fiscal year or this year. So it is something that is just be mindful, but also we always want to be accessible, and there are new regulations there. That was it.
Wonderful. Okay, so I've talked about social media quite a bit. Again, we can do virtual thumbs up, raise of hand, and chat. Does your program have a social media presence? Are you all utilizing social media currently to market and promote your program? Okay, I'm seeing a few thumbs up. Okay, seeing some more, Wonderful. Would anyone like to share what platform they're currently using and kind of how they're using it?
In the chat, we have Facebook. Ashley says Facebook. Brian, I see you came off mute.
Yeah, sure. I'll just mention that we use Facebook and Instagram, and we're kind of transitioning that from someone who mostly handled our kind of social media coordination to program level coordination. So this is something new we'll be working on ourselves over the next few months. Like we trained on like making flyers on Canva a little bit more. So it's exciting, but still not quite sure where it's going to take us.
That's exciting. Thank you for sharing. Rennie says Facebook as well. Anybody using Instagram? Thumbs up. Thank you, Brian. Anyone using LinkedIn?
Okay, I see a couple thumbs up for
Yep,
LinkedIn.
thanks, Lloyd.
Yeah, and social media is one that, again, it's the same with technology, right? It's ever changing. I feel like there's always some new form of social media that's come out that is maybe popular for a little bit and then kind of falls off. And I think when it comes to developing your social media presence with your program, this is an area where you can also lean on your students, those current students that you have. Um, ask them what platforms they're on. Have them make, a little TikTok or an Instagram reel and maybe use that as an assignment in some way, and then use that as a way to market your program. I think that there's nothing wrong with, again, those success stories and using word of mouth like I was talking about earlier. There's nothing wrong with using the skills that your students have and the knowledge that your students have when it comes to social media, and having them utilize those in a way that can help market and promote your programs as well. And they may really enjoy it. They may get a kick out of being able to bring in social media into the classroom when typically it's okay, let's put our phones away, let's not be on that, right? Social media has a time and place, but I think allowing them to step into something that they know and that they can be creative with really gives them a voice to promote how this program has been successful for them, and allows them to be seen in an area that maybe they don't usually feel seen in when it comes to the classroom environment.
So something to think about before we move off this slide. The top 5 social media platforms are Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and WhatsApp. If you haven't heard of some of those, you'll want to Google them. If you look by age range, so 25 and under are using YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, the Reels, the influencers, the messaging, and Snapchat. Most kids are communicating via Snapchat. So if you're also looking at ways in which to follow up with students, if you use the WhatsApp, use Snapchat. Texting is something that us old people use, and that's not necessarily what students today use. Be aware of, again, different areas. Millennials are using Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And then Gen Xers are using Facebook and YouTube. Older adults are using Facebook and YouTube. And then really you're looking at, if you're pinpointing that Gen Z, you want to have a more diverse social media platform and information. If you're looking at businesses, which are a lot of times owned and operated by your millennials, your Gen Xers, and your boomers, you want to stick to Facebook, YouTube. So really, what are you trying to market? Be targeted in your marketing is always very helpful as well. Oh, we got some messages in the chat. I love the idea of our students to create a reel to promote our program. Yes, as we just said, word of mouth. And don't think of word of mouth being the archaic way of me calling you and telling you what's going on. Word of mouth is the TikTok video. Word of mouth is that social media post. Word of mouth is that mechanism. So thank you for that, Rennie. Ashley, our ESL coordinator, uses the WhatsApp with her instructors and students. And the WhatsApp is great because it allows you to have privacy. So you're not sharing your email with everybody or your personal cell phone with everybody, but you have it on there and it's also private. So WhatsApp is great. And she said she can get a response on WhatsApp before any text or email response. And yeah, text and email are what the old people use. I still text my children, and I think they are probably on 4 or 5 different levels of social media at this point because they're teenagers, which is a whole nother conversation for another time. All right, Britt, want to keep moving?
Yeah, I'm gonna toss it over to you.
Oh, you are? Okay. So the 3 E's of successful recruiting. And so when we've talked about, marketing, we're looking at recruiting, we want you to engage, equip, and empower. And by what we mean by that is engage with your students, find ways to engage with them, equip them with the information that you want them to have. If you're doing bookmarks or something, or your website or your social media post, be sure they have a way to contact you, whether that be a phone number or a website or an email or a handle or whatever that is, but equip them with what they need to make the decision and be engaged. And then empower them. I love the idea, as Ashley does as well, having students be individuals who are sharing and showcasing your programs. That's a great idea. Empower them to speak about what they like. Giving them that voice is really beneficial to the way the program will go. Next up, ensure there's a clear place to get answers. And this is something that I don't know if you've ever, and I'm just going to use it for the lovely things you get in the mail, like the ads in the mail. They'll send you something like, "Ooh, next big thing is coming," or you'll get an email for something, and you have no idea really what it is. Or I'll just take, like this morning, I'm watching this commercial, watching this commercial, and it is about this woman who is like watching the first 5 years of her child's life in slow motion as it passes so fast and all that. I was like, oh, that's a really good commercial. My husband goes, do you know what it was for? And I said, no, had no idea. So be sure you're clear in your marketing and ensure there's a clear place to go for answers. If your students are watching something about your program and they don't know who to reach out to or how to get in touch with somebody, you've kind of failed. So we don't want you to fail. We want you to be sure that there's somebody who they can contact. Where do they go? It does not have to be, and I kind of encourage you not to have it be, be in Boston at ilstu.edu. We have an ICSPS email for that purpose. So it goes to everybody on the team. And then if it does pertain to them, it allows that to be something that we can put on, like, I'm going to do the shameless plug for the Forum for Excellence. Like, it can go on the Forum for Excellence marketing and all of you can attend and you can see, oh, if I have a question, I contact ICSPS at ilstu.edu. So there has to be a place though. And also back to Brittany's point from earlier, if you have that place, it has to have somebody manning it so it's responsive. Having a great email address or a great hashtag or a great tag or whatever you want to call it, and not having it manned, or womaned, so it's being responded to, is just as bad, because then you're ghosting them. And trust me, our population right now, just our society, is very aware of ghosting as an option. We can move to the next slide. So now that you have them, how do you keep them? So we're going to talk about some engagement strategies moving forward. And why do students leave? So let's just kind of start there. When we're looking at wanting to engage with students, we need to look at the facts of why they would step away from our programming. And one would be financial challenges. So how do we help address financial challenges? Poor academic performance. Are they doing well? Are they feeling supported? Are they having the supports to be successful? And are we catching, if they are not getting the content, are we catching it at a time that we can have a corrective action plan for the student? And I know that's a kind of a bureaucratic term, but you know what I'm saying. The idea of, are we helping the students find success, even if they do need some additional supports? We are community colleges after all. Lack of engagement and belonging. So do they feel, and this was all the conversation that we've had thus far today, do they feel that they are found their people, that they have a place, that they belong in your program? And then unclear expectations. If we keep moving the goalposts, they have a trouble achieving and gaining progress, success. And so we want to be clear in our expectations. This is what success looks like. This is how you are going to achieve your goal. And then poor time management skills. One of the things that the blessing and the curse of technology is that we have a device now that will take as much time as you give it. And it is imperative that we teach our young people how to balance their time, because yes, it is great if you want to be using social media in class, but it's also, if a student is sitting in class and trolling through Instagram, they're not paying attention to the content of class. So how do we help and equip our students with the skills to be able to manage their time? And this is something that will lead to great success if they're able to say, oh, I need to shut off my phone. It is such a problem that there are apps now that young people and old people can put on their phone, so they can have particular apps be on do not disturb through portions of their day. There would not be a need for that app if we had better restraint and time management for ourselves, but there is a need for that. So teaching time management skills, building that in, explaining to students the why. All adult learners need to understand the why before we ask them how to do or what we want them to do. All of just the way the adult brain works is we are programmed to ask why. Why are we doing this? So if I ask you to, review this sheet or to complete this assignment or to do a reel, why? Why am I doing it? What is the end result? What are you wanting from me to produce that? So think about that as we're also talking to our students and engaging with them so we don't have them leaving. Britt, anything I missed there?
No, I don't think so. And I will say I am one of those people who uses the little timer, like every night at like 8:30, my phone reminds me like, hey, it's about to go into do not disturb mode, because if not, Amy Earmuffs, I respond to work emails. I'm on there looking at social media. I'm doom scrolling, as we say. And I have found I've been doing it for like a month now. And I have found that when I step away from it and turn it off, I am less anxious. I am calmer. I sleep better. It's wild how amazing technology can be, but also how damaging it can be in ways that you and we don't even realize.
Well, it is intentional by the people who are programming those apps, because they know that if they give you what you're searching for, you get that dopamine burst, and that's why you stay on. That's why people doom scroll till 2 a.m. because they lose all track of time, because they are engaging with the device and with the content of the device. And there is nobody on the other side of that algorithm telling them to stop, because your hits, your time is the most valuable thing. So we are moving, and we are in a world, we're not moving, we're absolutely in a world where we've known for a long time, people are selling other people's information. That's how businesses make money. They don't really care about selling you a product as much as they care about getting your information to sell to someone else. And I know I'm saying it and being crazy, but I'm not. If you think about it, that's really what they're selling. That's why we have all kinds of things going on that are looking at attaining your information. That's why when you go to order a pizza, you have to put in your email and your phone number and everything, because they want to have that information, because that is the commodity. The commodity is your attention. And so if you don't set something to distract you, whether that be an app or a timer or something, it's happening all over. It is a huge change in the way in which we engage with technology. And it is also for our students so detrimental, because if you look at the development, you see this, I'll just wormhole in here. Sorry, Emma, but if you look at the research around brain development and you look at the way in which the brain develops, if we are not getting ample sleep, it is impacting every aspect of our life. And if we are staying up till 2 a.m. and engaging with the device in our hand instead of with actual human contact, it is going to change the way in which we interact with society as a whole. And we're seeing it. So I won't go down this wormhole too much, because I can for hours, because it's something I'm very passionate about. Give me that and the whole data center thing, and we can talk for years. So we'll move on to the next slide. Sorry, all. They will stay if they feel you belong and you are invested in them. And this is so very important. And as I said, their League of Innovation did a study, I want to say almost 20 years ago now, talking about how if we make our students feel that they belong and that you see them, they will stay. And it is as simple as taking attendance. It is as simple as saying, Nicole, how was your day? It is as simple as just engaging with them as humans. We talk a lot about universal design for learning in education and the way in which we engage with people, and having them belong as part of UDL, having them feel that they have a place, helping them understand the why to their place is so very important. And involve the whole campus in the engagement strategy. If you're looking to market any of your events out, look at how you can partner with another place on campus to market that event, market that opportunity for the students. Also, hate to say it, but free food still works. People do still come, but you have to let them know there's free food. The surprise free food, they don't come for that because they didn't know about it till later. And we'll move forward because I know we're getting close on time here. Engagement strategies. So emphasize the student support services. Students want to know they're going to be supported. They want to know what mechanisms they can be supported with. And then you also want to tell them, if you're having trouble, here's where you go. Here are the tutoring centers. Here are the things that you need. And don't just stop at the academic areas. Also look at, hey, if you're hungry, we have this food pantry that are available for students. Hey, if you have this issue going on, we have healthcare supports, we have mental health supports, all of those things. So emphasize your student support services. Community colleges are beacons for student support. So let's not sell ourselves short. Personalized proactive advising. Highlight academic mentors, coaches, and advisors, and what those individuals will do to help our students. Very important. Flexible scheduling. Initiate programs that cater to your students' lifestyle, including hybrid courses, flexible courses, options that help students attend while juggling work and travel. We've talked about evening courses, which are a huge opportunity for students who work during the day, or there's programs that have Saturday courses. So you had to take your classes on a Saturday instead of taking them during the work week. There's also having either early morning classes where they start at 7 and they're done earlier in the day, just having that flexibility, especially during summertime. Those have been a big push around the state around having coursework that is earlier so that it finishes earlier. So people like to do things in the evenings and go out and such. Or you also have there's this whole conglomerate of Little League baseball and softball that is all over the state, or any other activity for that matter. One-on-one student messaging and academic supports are highly desirable for students regardless of age, personal background, and income level. Having something that says, Brittany, I noticed you were in class yesterday, or having something that says, Brittany, have you heard about our wonderful, cool event? Has a higher rate of opening. So they're going to open it more often and they're going to respond to it. And again, we've already talked about using social media to meet them where they already are. So you can use geofencing for Facebook to make sure that they're seeing, all of the students in your area are seeing what you're looking at or what you want them to look at. Also use Snapchat and WhatsApp and all of those things, because that is where they are communicating. We'll go on. Boost community involvement or engagement. Cohort, study groups, student organizations, let them see all the wonderful things that are going on and give them opportunities for cohorts. So peer mentoring programs, establish peer mentorship network where experienced students guide and support younger learners and first year students. So important. Peer mentoring is somebody who has been there before and says, hey, let me show you how I did it. And maybe that's an opportunity for you. Virtual tutoring centers. We have some very large districts and you're looking at providing online access to tutoring services, resources, giving students more timely assistance regardless of where they're located. Keep in mind the population that is entering your programs right now has been impacted by the pandemic, and usually during their middle school years or bookending that. So you want to be aware that they are very inept and doing very good at virtual everything. So meet them at that skill level. But they also are desperately thirsty for human interaction. So get them on campus and actually have that holistic wellness program, the mental care support resources, the counseling services, the support students' emotional well-being alongside their academic journey. What we want to be able to show our students is the value that they bring to the institution and the value that the institution has in them. And at the same time, having that conversation about how they're navigating their space. Data-driven advising, use data analytics to identify struggling students early. I talked about this earlier, giving them that personal support, letting them know, hey, I see you're not doing so well in the course and we're just about at midterm. So how about we, spend a little extra time will really help them move forward and be successful. And sometimes they don't know they're drowning till they're really, really drowning. So having those checkpoints, not having everything due for our academic friends at the end of the semester, that is very detrimental. You want to have checkpoints in so they can see progress. You also want to talk to your instructors to make sure that any program that they're engaging with, they're getting feedback. regularly, and they're getting feedback as to how they're doing. So they can't just say, I don't know how I was doing because nothing was graded or no one told me how I was doing. I just showed up and did the things and then hoped for the best. We can't be doing that. We need some data-driven advising. We need some data-driven decision-making, and we need to support our students in having that content to help shape their response as well. And then work integrated learning, partner with a local business and enterprise organization to create internships, hands-on experience that bridge the gap between the classroom learning and the real world application. And these are great opportunities that are often kind of overlooked, but are just phenomenal opportunities to really engage with the community, to have that investment in our students as well. And next slide. Wraparound services. Just to let you know, we did, and are we at time, Brittany, or do we have?
Yes, so we're right at 11.
So let me touch on this real quick and then I'll wrap us up. So all of these things on this page are cited all across the state as the 5 biggest areas that are issues for our students: transportation, food insecurity, childcare, and having access and knowing about the resources. So many students don't know about your resources. So if I'm going to end with anything, I'm going to end with the idea of, please don't assume that they know what you do. Don't assume that just because you sent them one pamphlet, they have the information, or because you said it at orientation, they know what's going on. They don't. And please, please, please over communicate all the wonderful things that you're doing to support your students, because that is a barrier that we should not have. Transportation, I get. Childcare, I get. Food insecurity, yes. Societal issues, but knowing about all the wonderful things that the college does or that your program does, that is something that you can solve. And so let us help you solve that. So with that, Brittany, you can click through the rest, or we can, yep. Oh, look at that. Ta-da.
We're right on it. So thank you all for joining us. Emma, do you have any closing remarks? I know we're over a little bit here, but
No, nothing that comes to mind. Thank you everybody for being here.